Well, I do think it's time to discuss some more Guild Wars 2 lore. Specifically lore that may be lesser known to most players. In the last video of this format, people seem to really like when I focused on these bits of lesser known lore. So I've scoured the lore vaults and dug up some more tasty lore nuggets for us to snack on. I hope you're hungry. We're gonna start out with a bit of a shocker. Did you know humans are actually aliens? Aggressive, invasive, fighting aliens. That's right. It's mostly new players or players completely oblivious to the lore who don't know about this. But it's true, although they've become the most widespread race, they're not actually native to the world of Tyria. Where exactly they came from is a little unclear. It's implied that they came from some other realm of existence. All that's known about this realm is that it was not a peaceful or safe life for the humans, and they didn't have access to much magic, or at least any magic of their own. Now we do know how they got to Tyria. The human gods, specifically Dwayna, was looking for a peaceful realm to create a paradise for her people to live. She stumbled upon Tyria and decided that it would be the perfect world for the humans to come and live. So she brought the humans to Tyria, and the other gods at the time would follow, bringing their own abilities and virtues with them. All of them together with the humans would take on this task of creating a utopian paradise for the humans to live in. All of this is based on the Orient History Scrolls, where it explains the gods and humans' arrival on Tyria. And it has some lines in it with implications about the original human home realm, such as she promised, Dwayna led her people to peace, which would imply that the human home realm is not peaceful and unsafe for them to live. And also, in their wisdom, dispersed magic throughout Tyria, which would imply that the humans didn't have any magic of their own up until this point. They may be alien to the world, but they quickly became a menace to all the native races. Balthazar encouraged the humans to spread out and claim more land, which with his help they did. However, this was land already belonging to others, where others had been living for who knows how long before the humans arrived. Balthazar, in his obsession with battle, simply just got the humans to fight them, but Melandru, the oldest and most wise of the gods, warned them not to fight and to make peace with the other races. She knew that fighting them would only make things worse for future generations of humans. But unfortunately, the loud and stubborn Balthazar just ignored her and kept the conquest going, which is what has resulted in the general state of things in Guild Wars lore. A lot of it is generally filled with the humans fighting some kind of war with another race. Moving on now, I want to talk about Groundhog Day. I'm sure you're all aware of Groundhog Day. A rodent crawls out of the ground and determines if we have a longer winter or early spring. Or maybe you just know about the movie starring Bill Murray. Anyways, Tyria has its own version of Groundhog Day, but instead it is a family dispute among the gods, specifically a mother and son, Dwayna and Grenth. In Guild Wars 1 during the Winter's Day festival, one of the activities was a snowball fight called Dwayna versus Grenth. Players would join and be put on Team Dwayna or Team Grenth. However, this was not just a fun little mini game. In the lore, it was said that the outcome of this snowball fight would determine what time of year spring would come. If Grenth wins, winter lasts longer. But if Dwayna wins, spring comes early. Pretty much the exact same way that Groundhog Day works. Only here in Tyria, it's been replaced with an edgy emo kid fighting with his mommy. I remember this was a pretty fun event though. Players would run around the map collecting these little presents and return them to their respective god to earn points. All players' skills would be replaced with snowball fight themed skills, such as Snowball, Mega Snowball, Snow Down the Shirt, Hidden Rock, Yellow Snow, Ice Fort, so you could build these little snow forts. They really should bring this snowball fight back. It was a really fun event, especially since it actually had some ties to the lore as well. Okay, now let's turn our attention to the Sylvari, specifically the Nightmare Court. I'm sure most of you know them. They're pretty much just the villain faction in the Sylvari storyline. They're sort of just the anti to Sylvari society. The most prominent character, of course, being Fallon. But did you know that she didn't start the Nightmare Court, nor was she even their original leader, although she has twisted the court into some sort of sick, sadistic cult under her leadership. Let me explain. The Nightmare Court was founded by a second-born, Kadern. He began to question the Pale Tree and the teachings of Vantari. He became aware of a dark power called the Nightmare, and he wanted to expose all Sylvari to it. Doing this would allow the Sylvari to become aware of the many harsh realities of the world, and they could use that to their advantage. He slowly had more Sylvari listen to him and agree with his philosophies. including Fallon. It's unknown how exactly Fallon took leadership from him. My theory is it has something to do with Fallon's power of persuasion and temptation. She probably just manipulated her way to the top. But as the leader, she has completely ignored Cadron's original intentions. The Nightmare Court just causes chaos under her lead, and many of their members are really messed up mentally. There's Laurent, the Count of Blood, who has completely abandoned his loved ones in the pursuit of power, killing anyone in his way, including his own friends. Vivina, Countess of Obedience, who has an obsession with attention and being loved, so much that she's trying to use the Nightmare to control the minds of others to force them to love her. And worst of all, Fiona, Countess of Spiders. She used to kidnap human children. What for exactly is unknown. Probably has something to do with her spiders, since she treats her spiders like her children. She would even swallow spider eggs and let them hatch inside of her so she could give birth to them, so to speak. She could even transform her own body into a spider. Really freaky stuff. All these courtiers are all vying for the power of Fallon's nightmare tree to complete their evil plans. But who knows if that would even work? It might just be another Fallon manipulation scheme. Moving on, let's keep up with the plant life theme. Did you know that the Kurziks used to transform into tree people? The Kurziks, of course, being one of the two warring factions in Cantha, they lived in the Ekelvad forest. Well, they had a special ritual that would allow a volunteer to transform into what was called a Kurzik juggernaut. Juggernauts were basically these massive, strong constructs made of plant life. The volunteer's soul would be transferred out of their body and into the juggernaut. This was done by way of the awakening ceremony, which was considered one of the highest honors among the Kurzik people. It would take place in the Eternal Grove using the Forever Tree, which is a tree with magical powers. It serves as the life force for all the Kurzik juggernauts. In fact, if a juggernaut dies, its soul just travels back to the Forever Tree and a new juggernaut just grows out of the tree again. So as long as the tree is alive, the juggernauts are immortal. The main purpose of the juggernauts was to be used as some kind of super soldier-like weapon against the Luxons. The Luxons had their siege turtles, but the juggernauts were so strong they could flip a siege turtle by hand, rendering it useless. Since the juggernauts were so important to the Kurzik war effort, the Forever Tree was one of their most guarded possessions. If you want to see the Forever Tree, you can. It's still in-game. In Ekelvad Wilds, it's in the Eternal Grove, and it has an event where upon completion, the Forever Tree gets to bloom for a little bit. Our next point has to do with one of your mounts, the Griffin. As it turns out, every Griffin is mentally connected. If you just skipped through all the dialogue in the collection to unlock the Griffin, you probably completely missed this. To explain this, we need to explain the remains of the last Spear Marshal. Her name was Talcora. She used to be a character present in Guild Wars 1. At some point in history, she started a rebellion against Joko when he began to take control of Alona. Joko wanted to stop her, but not make her a martyr, so he ripped out her tongue to stop her from speaking out against him. She then started writing books about the true history of Alona. Joko responded by ripping out her eyes. Things would continue to escalate in this manner until Joko finally just killed her and attempted to awaken her. However, upon awakening, she remained free from Joko's control and now had the ability to communicate with her mind. Talcora believes that it's a blessing from Cormyr that allows her to do this, so she can continue to watch over and protect Alona. Now, how do the Griffins come into this? To protect Alona, she's going to need to have eyes everywhere. There were many Griffins in the area where her remains lay, and over time she learned to connect her mind to theirs. She got the Sun Spears to take care of the Griffins so she could use the Griffins as her eyes. She then created a massive flock of Griffins all over Alona that she can connect to mentally at any time. The Griffins have almost become some kind of mental network for her to tap into whenever she wants. So technically, your Griffin mount right now is still connected to Talcora's Griffin network. So the next time you fly around on your Griffin, Talcora could be connecting to it to use its eyes to see more of the world. Well, that's going to wrap up this installment of lesser known lore you never knew about. Or maybe you did know about all this already, if perhaps you are a lore nerd yourself. Well, either way, I hope you enjoyed this video or found it interesting maybe. Thank you very much for watching, and if you didn't know, now you know.